Hola a todos, my name is Patry and this is Spanish with Patry. Welcome back, bienvenidos. Today we're going to be talking about el tiempo, the weather, expressions to sound like a native speaker. Are you ready? Vamos. Right, the first thing, absolute must know for small talk. How do you ask about the weather? We've got different expressions. You could say the typical, the classic, ¿Qué tiempo hace? Hola, ¿qué tiempo hace? What's the weather like? You could also say, ¿Cómo está el tiempo? For example, ¿Cómo está el tiempo por ahí? You're on the phone to somebody, hey, ¿Cómo está el tiempo por ahí? What is the weather like over there where you are? ¿Cómo está el tiempo? Or ¿Qué tiempo hace? Now, you can substitute the word tiempo for clima, climate. It sounds a bit more, I don't know, it sounds too specific for me. It doesn't sound as natural. ¿Qué clima hace? ¿Qué tiempo hace? I prefer tiempo. I'd go for tiempo anytime. But you can also hear that. And also it depends, obviously, on the region. Be very careful because the word tiempo also means time. So if you are saying, for example, hace mucho tiempo que no nos vemos. It's been a long time since we've seen each other. That means time, not weather. So it depends on the context. I know that's not what you want to hear, but it is what it is. To express the weather in English is dead easy. It is sunny, it is hot, it is cold, it is raining, it is our go-to. In Spanish, it's not that straightforward, I'm afraid. We need to use different verbs in Spanish. So let me start with hace. We can use hace with a variety of weather. I always start with the easiest one. Hace buen tiempo, hace mal tiempo. So if somebody asks you, ¿Qué tiempo hace? What's the weather like? And you're like, panicky, just go for the easy option. Hace bueno, it's nice weather, or hace malo. You don't even need to say the word tiempo. You can just say hace bueno or hace malo. You could also say hace buen tiempo, hace mal tiempo. Those are your easy ones. So hace can go with those ones that I told you, the main ones, hace bueno, hace malo, but it can also get a lot more specific. For example, hace calor, it's hot, hace calor. Hace frío, it's cold. Hace sol, it's sunny. Hace fresco, it's chilly. Hace fresco, like now in autumn, hace fresco. Hace viento o hace aire. Windy, windy, viento, aire, windy. Before using these expressions, you can modify them by adding the word mucho. For example, hace mucho calor, hace mucho frío, hace mucho viento. A lot, increasing the level of it. Or if you want to sound like an absolute native speaker, you could say, hace un calor. Just add the article un before the type of weather. Hace un calor, hace un frío, hace un viento. The un is indicating the extreme degree of the weather. Hace un calor, it's scorching, it's boiling hot. Hace un calor. In Andalucía in the summer. In the same way, with the other two expressions that I told you before, hace buen tiempo and hace mal tiempo, you could add muy before them to increase the degree. For example, hace muy mal tiempo, hace muy malo, it's very bad weather. Or, hace muy bueno, hace muy buen tiempo. Vale? So those are the ones that we are going to use with hace. Hace is always followed by the examples I have given you. Now we go to está. What does hace mean? Hace mean it does, it makes. It is not translated as such in this situation. It's translated as it is. Now we go for a key one. Está. Está actually means it is. Está is going to be followed by an adjective or a verb. For example, está nublado. It's cloudy. I always say, remember to use está when it's an action, when something is falling from the sky. Está lloviendo, it is raining. You can say está diluviando. It's pouring down with rain. It's pouring down. Está diluviando. If it's not raining that much, you could say it's drizzling. Está chispeando. That we also call that a calabobos, a silly soaker. The silly get wet, basically, okay? Because you don't realize it's raining. So drizzling, calabobos, or está chispeando. I like chispeando better. Está chispeando. You could say está granizando if it's hailing. Está granizando. Una vez me pillé un granizo. One time I was coming back from Valencia. I was in the mountains going to Madrid. ¡Qué granizo! Me pilló un granizo. What a hailstorm caught me, guys. Like, they looked like golf balls, honestly. I thought the car was going to be wrecked after that. Me pilló un granizo. Anyway, está granizando. It is hailing. You could also say está nevando. It is snowing. Está nevando. Let it snow. Let it snow. Remember that está is followed by an adjective or a verb, whereas I, which means there is or there are, it is followed by a noun. Let me give you an example. I can say está lloviendo, or I could say hay lluvia, there is rain. I could say está nublado, it's cloudy because it's an adjective, or I could say hay niebla, or hay nubes. There is fog, or there are clouds. Okay? It's a synonym. It's just a different way of expressing it. Está granizando would become hay granizo. I don't normally say this one with está, but you could say está abochornado. Abochornado is like muggy. You know, when it's like that disgusting kind of weather, heat, muggy, sticky. So that's abochornado. But I normally personally use it with I. I bochorno. Hay mucho bochorno. That happens when I'm at the beach in the summer. Hay bochorno, hace bochorno. Or, for example, with está nevando, you could also say hay nieve. Está granizando, hay granizo. Do you see the difference? Different verb, different expression, but same meaning. What about the degrees? ¿Cuántos grados hace? Hey, ¿cuántos grados hace? ¿Dónde vives tú? How many degrees is it where you live? This is always very confusing because obviously we've got Celsius and Fahrenheit, and I speak in Celsius. So when I go to America and I tell them, oh no, it was so hot, hacía mucho calor, hacía 40 grados, 40 degrees, it was 40 degrees. They're like, 40 degrees, that's freezing. And I don't understand when they tell me theirs, so it's always quite confusing. In Spain, it's always Celsius. Remember that. ¿Cuántos grados hace? How many degrees is it? What's the temperature? ¿Cuál es la temperatura? For that one, I always use hay, there is, again, and it's followed by the number of degrees, okay? So, hay 30 grados, hay 40 grados, hay 20 grados. You could also use hace, exactly the same, okay? Does not make a difference. Hace 20 grados, hace 10 grados, whichever one you like best. And sometimes, if I'm being quite informal, I can just say I'm on the phone to my mom and she's like, oh, it's 30 degrees here in Madrid. Estamos a, she would normally say, estamos a 30 grados en Madrid. Estamos, we are at 30 degrees in Madrid. Estamos a 30 grados en Madrid. And at that point, I just think of getting in a plane and moving back home because it's probably 10 degrees in England. Y yo digo, estamos a 10 grados en Inglaterra. We are at 10 degrees. Technically, that's how we say it. That's a literal meaning, okay? We are at 10 degrees. But estamos. So in a nutshell, if you're saying degrees, you can use hay, you can use hace, or you could say estamos. What if it's below zero? Bajo cero. Just add the words below zero, bajo cero at the end. For example, por ejemplo, estamos a 10 grados bajo cero. And if you want to sound more native, you don't even need to say grados. You can just say estamos a 10 bajo cero. Okay? Hay 10 bajo cero. Hace 10 bajo cero? I wouldn't use it with hace. Estamos a or I, 10, the number of degrees, and then bajo cero. Let me give you a few more expressions that I could use with I. We've spoken about the degrees. We've spoken about a variety of expressions followed by a noun. And now let's use more nouns to refer to fenómenos meteorológicos. And by the way, remember, I don't want to hear anybody saying, hey, that's not the word, okay? The word is I, just like your I in English, okay? Just the way you pronounce I, we pronounce this one I. Don't say hey, I. The H is always silent. Ay, 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 ay. Hay relámpagos. There are lightning, relámpagos. I love the lightnings when I'm at home. Hay relámpagos. Hay truenos. My dogs don't like these ones very much. Hay truenos. There is thunder, truenos. And relámpagos, lightning. Hay tormenta. There's a storm. Hay una tormenta. I love a good summer storm. Mis tormentas favoritas son las tormentas de verano. Hay un huracán. I have been in a few huracanes en Florida. It is very, very scary. Un huracán. Hay un huracán. Hay un tornado. Hay un tornado. There's a tornado. Hay un tornado. I've seen a few very, very small ones in the sea on a few occasions, but I've never seen a big one, luckily. Hay un tornado. Hay un terremoto. Okay, I know this is not really meteorological, but it's related to the atmosphere phenomenon. But it's in the topic, so you could say hay un terremoto. There is an earthquake. Or even if it's been raining a lot, si ha llovido mucho, hay una inundación. Inundación. There's a flood. Hay una inundación. No puedo pasar con el coche. I can't go with my car. Hay una inundación. I've been through a lot of those in England, and yeah, it was at the point, and I was just thinking, should I go, should I not? The answer is always don't. Don't risk it. Okay, the time has come. I'm about to give you a bunch of idioms for you to sound like an absolute local when you travel around Spain or any Spanish-speaking countries. But first, if you're liking my content, if you're enjoying the lessons, if you want me to keep creating these for free for you, click the like button, please, and subscribe if you haven't done it yet. It really, really helps me out. Gracias. How do you ask somebody, hey, are you cold? Are you hot? Oh, be careful with this one. Do not say, estás caliente, for are you hot? Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. Right, if you say estás caliente, you are asking somebody if they are horny, not if they are hot. Not the same thing. What you want to say is, ¿tienes calor? Do you have heat? That's how we say it in Spanish. ¿Tienes calor? You could also say, ¿tienes frío? Are you cold? ¿Tienes calor? ¿Tienes frío? In my case, the answer is most likely going to be, tengo frío, because I am very friolera. Do you know what the word friolera means? We say friolera in Spain, but in South America and Latin America, I know that they use friolento or friolenta. It's basically the person that's a wimp in the cold, the person that's always cold. Okay, that's a friolero or a friolera. It doesn't really have a translation in English. Soy friolera. Tengo frío. I am cold. We don't say I am, we say I have. That's the literal translation. In the same way that we've got friolero, that you are always cold, we've got the word caluroso. Those kind of people that are always hot. This is my husband. I'm always cold. He's always hot. I don't know how we can sleep in the same room. Friolera versus caluroso or calurosa. Which one are you? Friolero or caluroso? Tengo frío, tengo calor, I am cold, I am hot. You could also say, oh, qué frío tengo. I'm so cold. Or, qué calor tengo. I'm so hot. All the ways of saying that you are cold. Estoy congelado. In my case, congelada, because I'm a girl. Estoy congelada. Estoy congelada. I am freezing. Or estoy helado or helada. Helado also means ice cream. But yeah, in this case, I am freezing. You could also say, me muero de frío. I'm so cold. I'm dying of cold. Me muero de frío. Okay? Another one is hace un frío que pela. Hace un frío que pela. Literal meaning, it makes a cold that it peels. It's so cold that it peels your skin, basically, okay? Hace un frío que pela. That one is super common and super useful. Hace un frío que pela. My mom says that all the time. Expressions to say that you're really hot. I told you, hace un calor, tengo un calor. You could use again, me muero de calor. I'm dying of heat. Same way we use me muero de frío, me muero de calor. We keep going with the heat. Me achicharro. I am boiling. Me achicharro. Me estoy asando. I am cooking. Me estoy asando. Me estoy cociendo. I am boiling. Me estoy cociendo. You could also say, this one really makes me laugh. Estoy sudando como un pollo. I am sweating like a chicken. In Spanish, we don't sweat like pigs, we sweat like chickens. Estoy sudando como un pollo. How funny is that expression? I didn't know chickens sweat. Estoy sudando como un pollo. And do not use the feminine word of pollo because no, that is not going to go down well. You are going to change the meaning of that phrase, my friend, if you do that. And that is not going to go down well, believe me. Expressions for the rain. Está lloviendo a cántaros. It's raining jugs or it's raining pitchers of water, okay? That's how we say it in English. So you tend to say it's raining buckets, it's raining cats and dogs. Está lloviendo a cántaros. You could say está cayendo una. Caer means to drop. There's one dropping. Basically, it's good weather for dogs. Okay, and now a mix and match of different idioms that are going to be super useful for you. Okay, if I say the word lluvia de ideas, lluvia means rain, ideas means ideas. What does that translate as? Let's have a lluvia de ideas. Vamos a tener una lluvia de ideas. Una tormenta de ideas. They do that a lot in meetings these days. Let's brainstorm. Lluvia de ideas o tormenta de ideas. They do borrow the word brainstorm and they do say it a lot in Spanglish. They say, vamos a hacer un brainstorming. It sounds cool, but that's not Spanish. Okay, you go to a date for the first time with somebody and you say, okay, let's break the ice. Vamos a romper el hielo. Let's break the ice. Let's break that awkward silence and let's start talking, please. Let's break the ice. Vamos a romper el hielo. The same in Spanish. Aguantar el chaparrón. Chaparrón, it's a really bad rainstorm. Un chaparrón. Aguantar means to put up with something. So what do you reckon aguantar el chaparrón means? If I say, hay una crisis tremenda. Vamos a tener que aguantar el chaparrón. There's such a bad crisis. We're just going to have to put up with this tough circumstances. We're just going to have to put up through this tough situation. We're just going to have to put up with this tough situation. We're just going to have to pull through the chaparrón. Okay? So, aguantar el chaparrón. When you're in an exam season, sometimes somebody says, aguanta el chaparrón, keep going, hang in there, aguanta el chaparrón. But you always know that después de la tormenta llega la calma. After the storm, there's peace, there's calm, okay? The calm begins after the storm. Después de la tormenta llega la calma. Seguimos, let's continue. Ser un sol. You are a star. In Spanish, you're not a star, you are a sun. Eres un sol. Eres un sol. Ay, muchas gracias por el favor. Thank you so much for the favor. Eres un sol. Sometimes people say, eres un solete. Ay, my students, sometimes I'm teaching, I'm like, hey, estás en las nubes. You are daydreaming. Estás en las nubes. Estar en las nubes. To be daydreaming, to be up in the clouds. Imagine that you're struggling money-wise one month to make it to the end of the month, and suddenly you get an extra payment that you were not expecting. So something unexpected has happened that is really, really convenient. And you say, oh, me ha venido como caído del cielo. Como caído del cielo. Just in time. Or como llovido del cielo, like rained from the sky. Be careful with this one. You can poner a alguien por las nubes, sing praises about somebody. Le puso por las nubes. She was talking wonderful things about him. Le puso por las nubes. She was singing praises about him. Or something can ponerse por las nubes. So if you make that reflexive, ponerse por las nubes, that means that something's going through the roof. House prices are going through the roof. Los precios de las viviendas se están poniendo por las nubes. We're not talking about anyone here, singing praises about anyone. We're talking about house prices going through the roof. Los precios se están poniendo por las nubes. They're going through the clouds. Okay? And over here today, I don't know if you can tell because the light is not great, porque hace un día de perros. Such a bad day. Hace un día de perros. Literal translation, it's a dog's day. It's horrendous. Winter is coming, guys. And that's all from me for the weather expressions. I hope that was useful. Muchas gracias. Hasta luego.